the Reverend Dr. Joyce Parry-Moore. I always like to acknowledge that because I'm still paying for it. I am a recent settler from the United States. I get to have the honor and great joy of living on the unceded territory of the Squamish and Seychelles nations. And before that, I was living in Washington, yes, but I also lived in Alaska, in Southeast Alaska, with the Tlingit Haida peoples. And it was in Alaska where I got to witness firsthand, and I was actually there from New York, so I was on the East Coast for a hot minute, and it was very hot. I got to witness the glaciers actually receding in the short time that I lived there. Then I lived in California, where I got to witness dangerous temperatures as well as wildfires that were threatening the lives of my parishioners. Yes, I am an Anglican priest. This is not just a fashion choice. That is my identity. I am also a white, cisgendered, straight woman from the lower middle class. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. And some of my children live with disabilities. And so it is my honor to speak to you today from these perspectives. I like to think I am the best silo buster because I escaped my panel earlier today, and I'm going to speak to you from a faith perspective in a different panel. Woo! So, I heard earlier we were talking about people have lost their faith in institutions, and I'm in a faith institution. So there you have it. I have a lot of work to do. I work as the Minister for Climate Response in the Anglican Diocese of New Westminster, part-time. Part-time, I am what's called a vicar in Gibsons at St. Bart's Church. The great thing about that pairing is that Gibsons and the Sunshine Coast is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life, and I've been all over the world. And it reminds me every single day of how important it is to be respectful of our grandmother Earth and to work in partnership with her. As a faith leader, I want to tell you, and actually I'm also a feminist. I'll just go ahead and out myself about that. As a feminist, I know that words matter. The words we use matter, whether we say our planet or the planet. And I want to just point out two words that I think have made a difference out of some sacred texts from the book of Genesis, which at least 3 of our faith traditions represented here today use this as a sacred text. And the way we interpret and translate sacred texts has a huge impact on our history, on our culture, on who the heck we think we are, and how we treat other people. Did you know, you probably do, that in the book of Genesis there are not 1 but 2 stories of creation? That's right. 2 different stories. And in one of them, I came from a rib, so that's fun. But in the first one, the word that is used to describe human beings' relationship with the earth is rada, which means dominion. It has to do with the power that a ruler would have. So to have dominion over creation. The second version in Genesis 2 uses the word abad, which means to cultivate. It also means to serve. Now, those are 2 very different theologies, aren't they? And which one have we been using for the last many centuries? Rada, to dominate, to have dominion. And because of that, human beings, the Venerable Dr. Suzuki was talking about that, as was Norm. We human beings prance around thinking that we have every right, that we are entitled to take and take and take, because we have rada, we have dominion over the earth. And we see where that's gotten us, yes? It has depleted the earth almost to a point of no return. Almost. The second word is what I'd like to encourage us to shift toward. And it's an urgent shift. In my line of business, people discern a lot. We pray, we think, we talk. We love committees. Boy, Anglicans love committees. And we need to get into action because now is the time. The time is now to make this urgent shift from one of domination to one of serving. from Rada to Abba. And the good news is, because that's also my business, the good news is that we still do have agency. We have some power, and we can use it for good. I believe in my faith tradition that we were created by a creator, in the image of a creator. Not just me or you, but all of creation was created in that image. Therefore, we can also create. We can create new systems, new ways of moving forward. What you've created here today is something new, a dialogue amongst people. And that dialogue is to create solidarity among many different peoples who may not feel like we agree on other things, but in this we have to agree. This is not a Pollyanna idea. This is not something that is nice to talk about. It is an emergency to which we can respond not in a way that is dissolute, that leads to despair, to loneliness and depression, nor a way that is absolute, that continues in our behavior thinking that it doesn't matter, but rather a path forward that is resolute and means to work together toward a solution. I want to just tell you a little bit before I pass the mic on what our diocese is doing toward that end. We are working with buildings. You heard Councilwoman Chris talk about how buildings and vehicles or transportation were the two greatest sources of carbon output. And so we have a lot of buildings. That's what churches are. We're buildings. So we are working with all of our buildings to become zero carbon output, so that we are not dependent on fossil fuels at all. I said fossil fuels and there was no lightning bolt. That's fantastic. So we will work with and do energy assessments of all of our buildings, and then we will work with them and advocate with government and with corporations so that we can get the heat pumps and make those transitions so that we are putting off no carbon. The other thing that we're going to do is we're working with our property to to work with indigenous plants and to conserve water. On the Sunshine Coast, water is a very, very precious commodity, and we're very aware of that. And finally, what led me here today is that we are working in solidarity, not only with one another, but with everyone in our community, including First Nations, Indigenous, and Métis groups, and people of many faiths or no faith. Because we're all in this together. We all have skin in this game. So I do believe that it's possible. I also believe that it's imperative that we work together and that we start now. So look up the diocese, the Anglican Diocese of New Westminster. You'll find me there, and get involved. Tell me how we can partner together, because we must be partners in order for us to move forward in new ways. Thank you very much for your kind attention.